take yours, I'll take mine. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It is really, really nice to be here. I have to tell you that a couple planning meetings that went into this, and they have been warm, engaging, and I was really excited to hear about this group, for which I didn't know anything about. And so, actually, I think it was Paul who reached out to me originally. And so, really, really pleased to be here, and touched, actually, by your introduction. The personal nature was really touching to me, and I appreciate that very, very much. Strongly recommend, by the way, the pasta dinner that happens before this. Thumbs up on that, and I'm just over there reflecting as the introduction is going on, checking out my tie to make sure I didn't spill anything. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I'm feeling okay to be here tonight. It's really, really nice to be here, and it's nice to see some old and new friends, and I'm going to manage this corner of the room, and I may need some help on that. In any case, I'm really excited to be here, particularly because as I looked at the group and looked at the list of conversations that you guys have had over the past, how long has it been? A couple of years. So we had our original meeting in here, and I was driving back to West Bergen, and I started to reflect on the fact that as I looked at that list, it's really a list of conversations that are really difficult to have. So what I was impressed by on the list was the intensity of the topics. These are not light, fluffy topics that you all come together to share and reflect on and think about. And for that, I'm really grateful to be invited. I love the intersection, because my social workers in the room will appreciate that. I know we have a few. I very much appreciate the opportunity to have those difficult conversations, because in some ways, that's what our entire field is about. In some ways, people come into West Bergen Mental Health Care to have difficult conversations. They come into our halls because things are not going as they wish it would be going. And so, in some ways, our training, and for better or worse, and we do it in different ways, our training is all about having challenging, difficult, and yet open conversations. And so, I am really, really pleased that we're here to talk about this topic tonight. And it's an interesting topic to get ready for, because in some ways, a kind of a classic textbook anxiety disorders lecture would be a really easy one to bang out, right? There's 19.1% of the population, by the way, that's significant, that can be diagnosed with an anxiety disorders. 19.1 is very significant. If you think 1 in 5, think about driving down your block, 1 in 5 houses, pretty significant. 1 in 5 people sitting in this room, in this congregation, on this street. Not an insignificant number, and not an insignificant, in any way, issue, right? Very, very significant. But this is a different conversation. This is about feeling anxious because of the macro. This is a conversation about anxiety, nervousness, worrisome, about having for different reasons. And so I started to reflect a little bit, and I'm going to be asking for a little bit of feedback on why it feels different. So to me, it feels different. I would say, randomly speaking, in the last year or so, not referring to anything in particular, but the last year or so, it feels different to me. And I'm also kind of a history, I'll say a history nerd, so I'm also mindful of the fact that the period of time that we're in right now is simply one period of time, and that we will continue to bump along, and that we will continue to do what we're doing. But for whatever reason, it feels different. And so I want to reflect on that for a few minutes if we can. And I'm just going to throw out a few concepts, and you chime in as you see fit. So to me, it feels different and upsetting because I feel like there's a process of scapegoating that's going on. So I feel like there's a process of, random example, immigrants. So the immigrant community, for example, seems to be, in some folks' minds, the issue or the problem. Now, if you do look at history, we know that scapegoating has long been around. It's been around for generations and decades. And in fact, social workers in the room, scapegoating happens in families, and it happens around your dining room table, and it happens in your family pictures. But for some reason today, scapegoating is really a mechanism that is very powerful and seems to be the primary, in some ways, focus of some areas. Blaming others for my problems. So I've got problems. There's financial issues, there's marital issues, there's disease issues, whatever we each have in our world, but it's not really my fault. It's because of you, or it's because of you, or it's because of you. So it's that concept of blaming others for what's going on in my world. In that sense, it's a little bit of a process of not owning, right, what's going on in my world, because it's much easier to finger point. We know that when we finger point a lot, especially in the substance abuse world, we say we have to watch for finger pointing because it's one finger out and 4 fingers back in. So we need to be conscious of that. But that seems to be certainly a process that's going on. Us versus them, that concept of all of us in the room here, maybe with similar feelings and thoughts and ideas and concepts, but there's another group somewhere meeting, maybe even in this very town, that has a different perspective, a different view, a different concept of why we're here. And so that's certainly part of it. Sadness of feeling alone. So I think that's part of what we're all experiencing, that sort of sadness of feeling alone in what I feel, and I feel powerless. Whether it be the Supreme Court or it be whatever is going on, I feel like I don't have power or control over it. So that's a big one as well. What else are we feeling, we think? What else are folks feeling relative to being upset? So scapegoating, blaming others, us versus them. What are you all feeling?
Angry.
Angry? Oh, I heard it at the same time. Okay. Tell me more about that. Angry.
Well, I mean, the current politics, everything that happens just upsets me. You know, so I get really angry about it.
Yep. So watching the news, listening, reading, you feel that inside visceral reaction. B, thoughts on anger?
Well, I
What does it mean?
Yeah, for me, it's, I keep thinking, what can I do to change any of this? And I feel that I'm powerless. So, I watch the television and I throw something at it, or, those of you who know me know.
We can picture it. Yep.
My mouth is not my best asset. But then, and then at night I go to bed and I think, what do we do to get out of this mess? And then I think, okay, so if I ask 5,000 people to vote, are they gonna? It's all that kind of stuff. I'm very angry at the Congress. I'm embarrassed by them. Our president won today, and he was such a laughing stock at the United Nations. The whole United Nations, at the beginning of what he said, laughed at him. I wanted to put my foot through him, not the television. And I'm trying to say to myself, what in the world can I do to calm the anger down? I'm going to continue to do everything I'm trying to do, but I don't want to feel that anger. I'm trying to figure out where, I don't want to put it on Jim, I don't want to put it on my kids, my daughter's getting married. That's adding to the anxiety.
Got it. So it's that intersection of what's happening in the world with your own experience,
Yes.
right? Your own dining room table
Yes.
and your own world. Got it. So anger, we're hearing that strongly.
Disappointment.
What else? Disappointment. Okay, tell me more about that. Disappointment.
I have a lot of neighbors
A
who
lot
are
of neighbors.
who are Trumpers because they really believe
Yeah.
that immigrants are ruining their life. They really believe that it's all everybody else's fault. And the problem is that otherwise these people are very nice. It's
Got it.
not, they don't come out with horns in their head.
Got it.
They'll take care of their neighbor's dog. If someone's sick,
Yeah.
they're the ones bringing the chicken soup. So to know that 30% of our population thinks it's all right to cage children, and these are the same people that would save my dog, it's like, it's just such a grave disappointment because I still talk to them. I don't hate them.
Sure.
But I say to myself, how can they think that way? What's going on that's making, and I think it's fear, certainly, but
Fear on their part?
yeah.
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 But at the same time, what do you do to change their mind? Because that's the root problem. There's some people that are evil. There's always 10% of people that are just nasty.
We'll accept that for the record, yeah, absolutely.
But then there's like this other 20%
Mhm.
that are otherwise nice but completely deluded.
Sure.
And they seem intelligent, like
Right.
well-versed, educated.
Yeah, they're not
Really
bad, but they don't
intelligent.
have horns, but they're,
And you might, and I think what
In
you're
addition
pointing
to
out,
nice.
intelligence, you're also pointing out that, and I'm gonna say it, they might actually be nice people. They might actually help with the dog, and they might be nice to you, and they may wish you well in your life, and so it's that conflict. We feel that I don't understand inside. My head, my heart don't agree, right?
right.
So my head is saying one thing, and I actually might even like my brother-in-law, but my heart is saying something else when he talks about his politics of the day,
Right.
right? So,
I feel sad.
okay, anger, disappointment, sad. Go ahead.
My dad came here from Norway
Okay.
and bought a little shack, a farmer shack in Paramus. And somehow my whole family is Republican, and I think I'm a bleeding heart liberal. So I even have family friends. I
Yeah.
can't understand how they can think that our country is okay with Trump. So it never gets discussed.
Right, so we shut it down.
Yeah, but I feel very sad about the whole, what's going on. I mean,
Sure.
my dad was so thrilled to be an American that I grew up thinking being American was really wonderful.
Sure.
And truthfully, I'm not so sure now. I did not plant my little American flag.
Just didn't feel it. And you know what I love about the last two examples? Your example is wonderful because it's community, it's neighborhood, it's my next door neighbor that arguably I've known for decades. And we can probably deal with that neighbor by sort of distancing ourselves a little bit and maybe not asking them over for July 4th barbecue or something like that. Your example is challenging because it's family. It's we're around the dining room table at Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever that is. We are together, and we're called in some ways, at least we're told, we're called by family to sort of be together, right, and sort of be on the same page, and so we feel that conflict.
And like she
Great
said, I
example.
can't understand
Yes.
how my whole family thinks.
Yeah. Please.
I just would like to be the devil's advocate here
We love that. Join us.
and say, it's not just Trump.
Yeah.
It's a whole way of thinking. And it's a whole school of thought. It's not just Trump. It's easy to say he's to blame, but he's not to blame for it all. It's a way of thinking that thousands of people have.
He's okay with that.
Fair. Yeah. Very, very fair point. He's really easy, right, for us to get our feelings around, and he's easy for us to sort of wrap our thoughts around and point to and become part of that process. But what else? What else feels different? Why does it feel different today? Why are we here? Exactly. Paul.
I don't know how to characterize this necessarily, but it's an anxiety that's born out of, I'm trying to think of the way, it's like we go to a meeting in the middle of the day, and you come out, you don't know if the world's going to come to an end, basically, because you don't know if, the Attorney General's been fired, you don't know what's happening, it feels like it's constant, it's like just constant anxiety, something happening.
Got it. So it's that constant on edge. Right, it's that feeling, I know I have it. It's that feeling when I wake up in the morning and I open the CNN app.
Yes.
What exactly what went on last night?
Yeah.
What was said? What wasn't said? What happened? So yeah, very good point.
So, and that's similar to just that we are living in daily insecurity.
Daily insecurity.
Yeah, whether it's, do we go to the mall anymore? Do we go to public places anymore? Do we walk down the street anymore? Are our children safe in school anymore? Who's gonna be the next person to drive their car into a crowd? What's the next thing that's gonna happen in our government? I think we become so insecure, which we in this country are not used to living in this state. We live in great security for the most part. Certainly not everyone lives in a secure world here, but we're becoming more aware of that, that insecurity is for some a different perspective for others, but
Sure.
the level of insecurity we hit now touches every single person. And for those of us who never really felt insecure from day to day, now feel that.
And so I hear fear, right? So that's.
Fear and insecurity and insecurity in, you know, where we once felt secure and safe.
So I hear two things there: fear, insecurity, and the fact that you have no experience at managing these feelings, right? So where this is new for us all, and that's part of.
It's not new for all of us, but it's new for a lot.
Okay, fair. But that's part of the concept of that feeling of something feels different today. It just feels like something is wrong. Please.
I keep thinking, in many ways, that we've made a lot of progress. I think Michelle Alexander in the Times yesterday, or Sunday, said that. And so in some ways, we're getting a reaction to that. And it's been slow, but I guess one of my better examples would be we've got marriage equality right now. And my anxiety is around all of whatever progress we've made in looking at the new Jim Crow, or having Black Lives Matter now being something we can say, that all that's going to disappear. And so that's why I struggle with it. I just mentioned two oppressed groups, but I mean, there certainly are more.
Sure. So the
I
fear.
could go Asian into that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Social Security,
Sure.
small business.
So the fear there that I hear you saying is that any progress that we've all fought for, and we being all of us, generations before us as well, have fought and scratched for and sacrificed for, there's this fear of it slipping away, slipping through our hands. Going away. Got it.
I'm not so sure, thank you.
Sure.
I'm not so sure that things are that worse today than they ever were in the past. I remember in 1968, before I even had my driver license, we were coming back from a family vacation in the West, and I said to Dad, I said, let's take a little ride through Chicago on the way back to New Jersey. And we left the Dan Ryan Expressway, and as soon as we got off the exit ramp, there were troops. And I said to the fellow, what's going on here, to one of the National Guardsmen? And he said, the Democrats are in town for 1968. And he said, they have riots, they have a few things going on. He says, if you were just going to go around and look and see what's going on here, he says, I suggest you get out of Dodge real quick, which we did. I remember in the 70s, having to go to the customs office to go into Germany because they didn't have the European Union leading the Netherlands. And when we went into the customs office, well, Mom and Dad stayed in the car, but I brought the 3 passports into the customs inspector, immigration, and they had about 75 pictures lined in the back there, and it read in German, terroristen. They had Bader Meinhof. Most of it were economic terrorism rather than religious terrorism, but it was there. The lynchings that existed in the South, right here in the United States, it seems to me that there's always some turmoil going on in the world. This is nothing new. So I think the best way to address something like this is say, what can you do about it? Don't get anxious. Don't get anxious about it. Write your Congress representative. Write a letter to the editor in the newspaper. Talk to your friends about it. If your friends disagree because they love Donald Trump, well, that's fine too. I have family that's in that persuasion. But America, you're free to have beliefs that they can. What is disconcerting is random acts of violence. And in some ways, I think that the media, the video games and everything makes it seem more routine. And I think that's something that we do need to deal with young people, family about, encouraging them not to engage in violent behavior or bullying.
And also we have nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons, so
So if there's
stakes are
nuclear
high.
war-
Stakes are high. Is that your point? Yeah, got it.
I was a journalist for a number of years, and very fact-oriented. And I feel that the American public and voters are being used. They are being managed. There is a lot of key messaging that comes out. I hate to say it, but I saw it first when I was at a major company and we had government relations functions that I had to write for. I saw it coming out of the Congress, the Republican members of Congress in the mid-1995s, and it just kept ratcheting up. And you see a lot of people who, they're on Fox News, they're on MSNBC, they're on their favorite Facebook little channels getting their information. And it appears that people are not looking at the big picture, and they feel uncomfortable going outside of their little bailiwicks, their little, tunnels, silos, and looking at things from another point of view. And there's also, a group of folks in this country, and unfortunately in our leadership, who don't believe that facts are facts. They want to look at alternative facts. They want to present their points of view in a convincing way and a repetitive way that kind of reminds me of, like what I read about in history class in Germany, or else in the Soviet Union. Like it's almost propaganda. And, I grew up at a time when you watched Walter Cronkite in the evening news. And you had newspapers of record, the Old Gray Lady and Baltimore Sun and Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, and, the Chicago Sun-Times. And these were reliable sources of information. People with knowledge, with PhDs and who studied, were respected. Now suddenly, people with knowledge, they're called the elites, and they're not worth listening to anymore. So the net is, I really feel that, our political system is really using the American public for its own benefit.